Hyundai channel. My name's Gabby.
I'm Michael.
And you may notice two beautiful compact sedans right behind me. And if you've been doing your research online, you may have read that the Kia K4 is replacing the Kia Forte. And that's not entirely true. They may look a lot different, they have a lot of different tech, and the differences don't actually just stop there. There is a lot in between these two vehicles, more than meets the eye, and although they share similar powertrains, one may be better than the other. And that answer really may come down to you. Of course, this is a live stream car review, so we're doing this in real time, no script, just us in the cars. So we're gonna give you a full in-depth walkthrough of both vehicles, comparing the differences, and of course, answering your questions. The beauty of doing this live is whoever's watching this in real time, you can leave us comments in the live chat box, and towards the end of the walkthrough, we'll typically go in and answer them and see what you guys are saying and what you'd like to know between the two. Now, Michael is my cameraman today. He's not typically my cameraman, so please bear with him. And of course, because this is live, it's bound to have some, technical difficulties.
This time I hope not.
This time I hope not. But let's get into it. I'll first start off with a brief explanation of both vehicles. Now, like I said, they're both compacts, but I will say right off the bat, neither of them give you compromise. Both of these vehicles and both of their top trim levels are going to give you so much tech, so much safety, and the best part is they are so much fun to drive. So you don't necessarily equate compact with a fun sports car, but this is a vehicle that you can daily drive and actually track it if you want. And we have Ryan DuPont moderating the chat right now, who has done exactly that with his Forte GT Limited. Under the hood, both of these vehicles share the same displacement engine. It's a 1.6-liter turbocharged GDI, so gasoline direct injection. Now, I shouldn't say those. It's going to be for the Forte GT Limited specifically. That powertrain is going to give you an output of 201 horsepower with 195 pound-feet of torque. And you may expect the K4 to have the exact same horsepower numbers, but it doesn't. More on that later. So this Forte will give you 201 horse, like I mentioned, 195 pound-feet of torque, and the best part is this is a vehicle that is so fuel efficient. At 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway, it's something that you can have a ton of fun with and not feel like you're driving a sports car that's rigid and it costs a lot at the pump. It's attainable, the price point is fantastic. I believe it was $30,495 MSRP brand new, and there's so much great things about the Forte. I seriously love it, and that's why I have one. Style-wise, the front end definitely looks a lot more classic compared to the K4. So you get beautiful LED daytime running lights and headlamps. And on the GT line and GT Limited models, you also get beautiful LED fog lights. There's also a lot of red piping around the front end and a lot of gloss black. This definitely kind of separates it from the rest of the models in the Forte lineup, things like the EX or the LX. They kind of look like more, I don't want to say rental car-esque, but very much just more average, daily. The GT line and GT Limited have a different look to them. They're a lot more fun to look at, and you can tell there's a little bit of spice in the vehicle itself. We'll take a quick look at the wheels, Michael, if you want to head over to the side. So the wheels, he's going slowly. So the wheels on the Forte GT Limited are going to be 18-inch alloys, and you see that contrast from the red center cap. That is exclusive to this trim level. I think they look fantastic, definitely stands out, especially with this orange paint. I mean, this is a vehicle that's pretty hard to miss. You won't lose it in a parking lot. You'll also notice the side skirts of this vehicle are also going to be black, so expanding all the way towards the back end. You get nice body color door handles with some gloss black mirrors for contrast. And the general body lines of the Kia Forte are, again, pretty classic, like the front end. It doesn't stick out too much. It still looks different and fun, but it's very much still a sedan. It's not overly styled, if that makes sense. And again, no hate on the Kia K4. I love it, but it's a completely different animal in terms of styling. It's definitely a lot more things going on over there. You get a nice sunroof, and you will get a better look at that when we hop inside the cabin. Now here's one part of the Forte that may have some challenges, and that is the transmission. So the Kia Forte GT Limited came with a 7-speed dry type dual clutch, and this was the only Kia Forte trim level that had that transmission. Everything else is an IVT. Now, the dry type dual clutch is a lot of fun. It's super responsive, it's very engaging if you are someone who does enjoy a more fun to drive feel. Now, if you are daily driving this vehicle, especially in stop and go traffic, that may be less than ideal. It's gonna feel a little bit lurchy, and if you don't properly know how to utilize the dual clutch, maybe you just didn't do your research, you just want a sporty looking car, that can't exactly be great in long-term longevity of the vehicle. Now, again, if you know how to work with it, it's totally fine, but it's something that felt different, and a lot of people would complain about the lurchiness of the vehicle. That's where the Kia K4 came into play and kind of corrected some of the previous, I don't want to say mistakes, but complaints from the Forte. Before we get into too much on the K4, let's finish up with the Forte here. So the GT line and GT Limited models would give you this nice black lip spoiler spinning across the back end, tying in with the rest of the gloss black accents that you see throughout the vehicle. You get a GT badge on the right-hand side, and my favorite part of this car, other than the powertrain, the diffuser. The diffuser on this vehicle looks so dang good. You also get a dual exhaust, so I mean, they're both functional, and it actually sounds quite nice stock. It's not overwhelmingly loud. It's not going to be anything crazy. It's not straight piped or anything, but it sounds good stock. It won't annoy your neighbors, I'll tell you that. Again, with this orange paint, it still looks good. The red stands out. The gloss black is a nice touch, and then surrounding your reverse lights, you also get a little bit more black accents. Guys, let me know what you think about this rear end, because it's going to get really different when we get to the K4. Trunk space-wise, they're about the same. It's actually a little bit more usable trunk space on the Forte, and that's going to be because the K4 follows more of a fastback-like style. However, when you hop into the cabin of both vehicles, that's where you'll definitely notice a size difference. The K4 is a longer and wider vehicle, and you definitely have a lot more interior roominess. So if you're someone who appreciates a fun-to-drive vehicle, but definitely wants something that's more comfortable and more tech-savvy, that's where you're really gonna like the Kia K4. So let's do a quick walkthrough of the exterior of this vehicle. The lights may have turned off already. I think they did. Should we start off with the back end, Michael, and work our way forward? So the back end of this vehicle, it's got really, really funky taillights. They expand almost halfway in to the rear end. They are LEDs with a mix of bulb combination. Nice Kia badge right over there. You get a trunk release and your backup camera kind of in plain sight. The diffuser. Now it's going to be a little bit hard to, I guess, pick up the accents of this vehicle because the paint is already so dark, but you still get a lot of gloss black, not glass, expanding all the way there. Tiny bits of gunmetal here, or dark chrome, whatever you want to call it. And then a semi-aggressive diffuser. It's nothing too crazy. Michael, what do you think?
I think, I think it's a little bit more aggressive on the other one.
It definitely stands out more on the Forte, and I think a large part of that is because everything has kind of red accents surrounding it, so you're more drawn to look at it. This one is definitely something that I think it's less noticeable, but it's still there, if that makes sense. The GT badge has changed, so this is our more modern GT badge. We see it on vehicles like the EV6 GT, and I think the Kia EV9 GT as well too.
Yes.
We also have rear parking sensors, which is a first for a vehicle in our compact sedan segment. The Kia K4, I will say it's pretty revolutionary in the sense that it's introducing features that people never really equated with the compact segment or a vehicle with this price point. You're getting a lot of things here. I already pointed out the rear view camera, but get ready because there's an actual full 360 view on this car, something that the Kia Forte never ever had. All right, let's take a look at the sides now and the wheels. So starting off with the wheels, when you get to the GT line Turbo Limited, which is totally a mouthful to say, it's still an 18-inch alloy, but we've gone with a fully dark or blacked out look. The Kia emblem is the only thing that's going to remain light over here. Now the brakes for both of these vehicles are going to have ventilated disc brakes up at the front and solid disc brakes on the rear, with the brakes themselves being larger than the other vehicles in the Kia K4 or Kia Forte lineup. Anytime you get a turbocharged model here, you can expect more braking power. Both of these vehicles also utilize a multi-link rear suspension, and they have sport-tuned dampers and springs. So it is going to handle a lot nicer, not just for performance driving, just regular driving, so think bumps and curves. The vehicle will handle quite a bit better thanks to that. The body lines of this vehicle, and you might kind of have to go on an angle to film this, Michael, you'll see the fenders or the hips of this vehicle, they extend out quite a bit. So it's a very curvy vehicle. Pretty nice, very aerodynamic, I guess, but also just adds to that sporty flair of this vehicle and making it look a lot more styled than the Kia Forte, which could be a little bit, I guess, forgotten about. I don't want to say forgotten about, it still looks good, but definitely more classic versus this, which it's got a little bit more going on in the aesthetics department. Let me get the lights back on. The lights are probably, again, one of my other favorite things about this vehicle. So it is, there we go, fog lights on. So the K4 is introducing our star map lighting. So what you really need to know is this kind of symbolizes a constellation. So lots of clean, sharp lines. And of course, with sharpness, we also bring in LEDs. LEDs are standard on this vehicle. They were not standard on all models of the Forte. Obviously, if you're looking at the top trim level, the GT Limited, you're getting them. But it's nice to know no matter what trim level K4 you're getting, you're also getting the latest and greatest tech. Your positioning lights, your full headlamp unit, even your, of course, high beams, they're going to be bright LEDs. The fog lights also look good on this vehicle, and you'll notice lots more gloss black surrounding your front bumper. A little bit more of that gunmetal finish along the bottom to kind of contrast with things, and very, very slight amounts of chrome, not too much, just enough to match with the badging of the car. There's also forward parking sensors on this vehicle and side parking sensors. And let's do a brief intermission to talk about tech. So obviously we know the Kia K4 is one of the first vehicles to integrate a 360 camera in this compact price range for our vehicles. It's also going to give you things like highway drive assist level 2, which means this vehicle can monitor its speed and following distance based off the vehicle ahead of you, as well as the speed limit of the highway that you're on. It can also do lane changes by itself. So when it comes to driver attention and driver convenience, this vehicle is giving you everything it's got. A lot of other manufacturers, you have to go to their flagship vehicle or their most expensive vehicle to get things like this. When our car, this is going to be our next most affordable vehicle in our lineup. The K4 is our new compact car. You're already getting that. It's pretty exciting. So obviously tech is an emphasis on the K4. It's going to be for the tech savvy, people that love the latest and greatest. You also get things like over-the-air software updates, which is pretty fun, and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But with that being said, we'll probably work our way inside the cabins of the vehicle. I'll quickly just go over the powertrain of this one here. While I'm at it, maybe I should pop the hood. Now the hood on this vehicle is longer and a whole lot wider, just like the rest of the vehicle. It's definitely got a little bit more road presence in the sense that it's big. You're definitely attracted to the headlamps on this car. It draws you in. Even if you're not a fan of the styling of this vehicle, you look at it and kind of wonder, what is that? You haven't seen it before. Forte's been around for a while. All right, so again, we have a non-hydraulic hood. There's my one complaint. 1.6 liter turbocharged GDI engine with 190 horsepower. Oh no, we're missing 11 horsepower from the Kia Forte and 195 pound-feet of torque. So yes, there is less horsepower on this vehicle. What that difference is actually going to feel like is probably going to be pretty marginal, especially if you're not someone who's overly performance-oriented. I can promise you, you're probably not going to miss that 11 horse when you get behind the wheel and see how tech-savvy and fun this car still is to drive. It's a lot more comfortable as well, too. So if space is a must-have for you, you'll be happier in the Kia K4 for sure. Also on the topic of drivability, this is an 8-speed regular automatic transmission. So no CVT, no IVT, no dual clutch, none of that stuff. It's just a regular automatic with the torque converter. So you can expect this vehicle to feel a lot more smooth. And especially if you are a stop-and-go traffic driver, it makes more sense. So I'm very happy that they made that change. Michael, should we go over the Forte or the interior on the K4 first?
I don't know. I think we should go
K4?
over this one. Yeah.
Okay. So on the topic of new tech, we do have, of course, the 360 camera, but that also introduces a blind view camera. So that means every time I go to indicate a turn, this vehicle will trigger the camera on the bottom of the mirror to show me what's happening in my blind spot. This is fantastic if you live somewhere where you're parallel parking a lot, but also just doing lane changes on the highway. It is so convenient to have. Lots of gloss black on the mirror. And pardon me, guys, it's a little bit dirty inside. We didn't have time to clean the interior. It's busy today. Let's take a look inside though. Lots of white contrast. You'll see that on the doors. You'll see it on the seats. Beautiful white piping. Premium Harman Kardon sound system. And my personal favorite, the steering wheel. So this steering wheel is two-tone. You got nice, almost cream gray in the center where your airbag is. It's fully heated with 2 different levels of heat. You got all your driver convenience on the left-hand side with your media kind of stuff on the right. And your drive mode select button is actually located on the steering wheel itself. So it's no longer in the center console area. You may also kind of get a glimpse of the latest tech. So this vehicle is going to be our first compact with the 12.3-inch dual display. Now the 12.3-inch on both screens is reserved for the turbo models, but you'll always get this screen regardless of if you're getting the base or the top trim. This screen is also going to be introductory to wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, something that the Forte did not have unless you got a base model. The trim inside has a lot of, actually I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a lot of dots going on, almost cross stitches. It looks good, and when you do have your ambient lighting on at night, it kind of gives it an ombre effect. Now the ambient lighting is also good. It's definitely lit up in more places than the Forte. The Forte, it's very small, but again, some people don't care for it, so. This is your climate control screen, so it's a little 5-inch cluster here that you can maximize and have it pan over to the full screen. You can trigger your rear climate as well too, so turn on their heated seats, which is nice. And everything is done pretty much digitally here, but you still have some physical controls as well too. So it's still pretty I want to say analog in that sense, but honestly, having buttons and dials are so convenient. You guys don't realize how much you love them until it's gone. It sucks to do everything on a screen. There are some quick buttons for things like home and map as well too, and of course you have built-in navigation with this car. The gauge cluster up at the top is again fully digitized. It does change themes based off what drive mode you're in. Sorry, the car just shut off. There's a quick look at the end screen though. Pretty nice. And you do have paddle shifters if you would like to work through those 8 gears. Got some buttons over here. So you got your parking brake, it's electronic. No manual handbrake in the Kia K4 at all. And these seats are still sporty. They may not be as bucket seat-esque as the Kia Forte, but you still get GT line badging. They're heated and cooled up at the front. You get a nice black headliner, and the sunroof has grown dramatically, so it's a much wider, much longer sunroof. Definitely giving this cabin a more premium feel. And on the topic of premium feel, with that comes great comfort. So you do get, of course, these very nice, very luxe seats, but there is more room in this vehicle as well too, especially in the rear seats. So the Kia K4 is definitely more on par with size with things like the Accord and the Camry than things like the Corolla and the Civic, which is really impressive. There's a lot of rear legroom, making this a great passenger vehicle and driver vehicle. Gear shift is just a regular lever style gear shift. It's a push to start. You get a wireless phone charger. There's your buttons for your parking sensors, and here's one thing that really shines on this car. You guys know I drive a Forte every day. I also have a large water bottle. My water bottle doesn't fit in my Forte cup holders, but these, they're adjustable, and you can see there's so much room over here. So it's truly the little things, just tiny improvements. All right, let's take a look at the back seats, and then we'll hop in the Forte and do another quick comparison. I hope there's not too much back and forth and chatter. Michael, do you want to show the door handle? Because that's different. Yep. No, the door handle on the outside.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. So pillar mounted door handle, that's something you don't see every day. Definitely different than what's on the Kia Forte. If you want to quickly pan over to the Forte's traditional style door handle. Yeah, I mean, they still work the same. It's easy to use.
Which one do you prefer?
I really don't have a preference. I think they both, as long as they both do their job, I don't care. You know what I mean? As long as I can get into my car, I'm fine. Now, this vehicle definitely has a bit more of a fastback style to it, so you do lose a little bit of headroom. Seriously, it's a little bit. Probably don't notice it if you're hopping straight in and out of the Kia K4 or the Forte. Both of these main seats are heated on the top of the line trim. You get a nice center middle seat, and you get a pull-down cup holder and armrest. The seats back here, and this is just something, it's a nice touch. You do still have that white contrast. I will tell you, I have been in many vehicles and many manufacturers. The biggest disappointment of my life was getting into a 2018 Honda Civic Type R. I know that's a fun car. I know it's a track car. I know what its purpose is. But it was really underwhelming when I hopped into the back seats and it looked like it was straight out of a base model from like 30 years ago. It was so basic. So when you're spending that much money for a vehicle, I don't know, if I'm gonna have rear passengers, I want them to still feel comfortable, even if they're not getting as much space as the front. So just the fact that these seats still feel very premium, they look good, you got rear air vents, they are heated. I don't know, I think that makes a big difference. You get USB-Cs back here too, so some tech is great, and then a little phone pocket. All right, Michael, shall we hop into the Forte?
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, one more thing I'll say. These seats. So the seats themselves look great, they are great, but you also have this. This may look like an interesting design, but it actually doubles as a coat hanger or a bag hanger. So it's honestly the little things, just better use of the space, makes a lot of sense. All right, now let's hop in the Forte. So I might grab the camera from you, Mike. And this will definitely be a little bit more of a concise walkthrough of the Forte. We have done full in-depth ones if you'd like to see it. So immediately you can see the seats look a little bit more sporty. You get nice red contrast and stitching with the GT badging right over there. And that's full GT, not GT line. For the K4, there's no full GT at this point. It's just GT line. The steering wheel is a flat bottom or D-cut steering wheel. You get GT in the center, red stitching. It's leather wrapped and heated. On the left-hand side is your media controls. Right-hand side is your driver assistance controls. Still great driver assistance on the Forte, not that much has changed in a year. We do get our 7-speed dual clutch transmission paddle shifters, so that's of course tied to that. And your air vents take on a more turbine-like look. I love this about my Forte. The media, so the media is something that kind of get some complaints because this is considered our premium audio system for the Forte. This is the largest screen you can get on the Forte, period. It's 10.25 inches touchscreen, and the software looks good, but one thing that we get a lot of criticism for is the fact that it doesn't support wireless Apple CarPlay. There's so much hair in my mouth. So it doesn't support wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and it never will. Unless you got the 8-inch display, you're stuck with the wire. And that's, whose Uggs are in here?
I think those were yours.
Those are not my Uggs. Anyway, I completely lost track of what I was talking about. So wireless CarPlay and Android Auto is something that you just don't get in the Forte, and I'm okay with it. I deal with the same thing every day. Plug my phone in, it's a habit now, it doesn't bother me. But that's definitely somewhere where the K4 improves upon. The tech is obviously more up to date. The over-the-air software updates also help with that, of course. And it's a little bit more user-friendly with the icons being much larger. So another complaint we sometimes get is people find these icons too small, so they're driving and they want to touch something and they hit something else, which is completely understandable, but that's just something we've noticed. You do get some, not real buttons, but screen type buttons along the bottom with real dials for your tune and volume. Air vents, climate control. Climate control is very easy to understand and it's all dial based, so no touch screens involved. Shut that off. I do definitely prefer where the start button is on the Forte, but that's okay. Wireless phone charger, a little bit of storage right over here. Regular gear shift, and then the layout is definitely different when it comes to your heated seats and your heated steering wheel. Everything is done by the gear shift itself. Same thing with your drive modes. You notice a little bit of a GT badge there. And Michael, do you mind closing that door for a second? So the ambient lighting on the Forte, which I realize is not on right now, but it's done on those kind of dot-like design over there. So it's definitely a little bit more demure on this car. It's not as noticeable for sure, but it still looks good. There is auto hold right over here, and then your parking brake. And then here are your cup holders. So again, they're functional, they work great, they're fine, but if you do have a larger water bottle, it's riding shotgun because there's not gonna fit on there. There's light on the GT logo as well. Thanks for pointing that out, Ryan. So that small GT logo there. Seats themselves, I think I prefer the look of the seats on the Forte, but the functionality of the seats on the K4. Both of them are gonna get you powered seats. Nice designs on the doors. And Michael, I'm going to show the back seat. So space, there's a lot less of it, but it's still fairly comfortable. Again, I've driven the Forte just fine. None of my friends have complained, but maybe they're just good friends. Headroom-wise, there's technically a little bit more headroom in the Forte than the K4, but it is, obviously it's not gonna be the headroom of an SUV, and that's not what a compact sedan's trying to be. The back seats are pretty simple, so they're plastic. You can just wipe them down easily. And you do have a mesh pocket on the passenger side. There's no utilization of this as a coat rack though, so it's just a seat. Your heated seat controls are on the door right over here. Some more red stitching. So just like the K4, I think Kia did a great job of continuing design into the rear seats and not just leaving it boring and blank. All right, you guys, so we've gone over a lot between these two vehicles, and there's a lot more. So I wanna know, what do you guys want to see about these vehicles? Michael, is there anything you wanna know?
Honestly, it's the first time seeing a GT K4, and I'm quite impressed.
It's awesome.
Of how it looks and functionality.
I can't flip the camera, sorry.
The one that I really notice is the seats. Yes, they're not as sporty, but think about it this way: commute a daily vehicle.
Yeah.
In the winter time, your boots, they're sand. It doesn't matter how many times you shake it, there's still going to be water. So just imagine your coat on the floor or your bag or anything like that. It's going to get wet. Yeah. So those things I would prefer a little bit more just for convenience.
It's definitely a better utilization of space. Could I ask you to do me a favor? Do you mind hopping in the K4 and putting in reverse? I want to show the reverse lights.
Yeah.
So the K4 has a wicked lighting system. I think it looks so cool. I think a lot of the controversy behind this vehicle is people just not used to what a new vehicle looks like. The Forte has looked pretty classic all its life, and the K4 is just completely different. There's your reverse light, very bright, on the bottom of course, and then your tail lights I think look so good. All right, do you mind turning it off now, Michael? It's beeping like crazy.
Oh.
Ooh. Okay, engine on. All right, with the sunroof open, you can see it's a huge sunroof, so it definitely stands out quite a bit. Open, huge curves along the rear of the vehicle. Someone asked about the difference in trunk size. It's just a matter of, I think it's 2 cubic feet of difference. Do you mind opening both of them, Michael, and I'll just kind of talk? The opening does seem smaller on the K4, and a lot of that is due to the fact that it has a much shorter trunk, if that makes sense. Obviously, the trunk itself goes in very, very deep, but the opening itself is fairly small. K4 Forte now, but very, very similar in size. I'll point out one big difference. So the Kia Forte only has a mobility kit right over there, and the K4 has an actual spare tire. So that's already a pretty big difference. Very nice. Both of them have the ability to fold the rear seats back, which is quite nice. And then we'll take another quick look at the diffuser. I'm kind of upset about the exhaust on this vehicle. I hate that it's hidden and down facing. I really wish they integrated it into the design of the diffuser, but
Yeah, I think I prefer a little bit of where the exhaust is on this one.
yeah.
It just makes it pop out a little bit more. And in terms of, it looks like it doesn't have an exhaust.
Yeah, it looks like it may not exactly be a sport model. It may just be a sport appearance package, which, I don't know, if I'm paying for the turbo, I want people to know it's a turbo. I want people to know. All right, maybe we'll move this over here, actually. Sorry. Walking very slow. We have salt all over the place now.
It's slippery.
Because the season. These vehicles have a $3,700 price difference. So I guess my breakdown for everyone would be, for $3,700, do you think it's worth it to lose 11 horsepower, but to gain a 360 camera, highway drive assist level 2, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a whole lot more, front and rear parking sensors, the latest technology, a new layout, a new look, and a larger vehicle?
I would take the K4.
Did you get all that, Michael?
I would take the K4, to be honest.
Yeah, I would still take the K4 for sure. Certainly there's some things I still love about the Kia Forte, and I think a lot of it is just kind of nostalgic to me. It's something that I've loved for so long, it's hard to let go of, especially knowing that the K4 or the Forte will no longer be produced. But the K4 is a wicked car. Are you kidding? That thing's fantastic.
The headlight gets me all the time.
Yeah.
I love how they changed it. So, yeah, because the daytime running lights, you can really tell now, especially with all the vehicles, they're all kind of almost all the same now.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a signature look of when you're driving. Oh, that headlight looks unique. That's a Kia.
Yeah, it stands out. I think our vehicles does such a great design, such a great job with design, styling, everything, but also, of course, functionality. I do think the software that's within the K4 is a lot easier to understand and easier to operate in day to day. I can totally see driving a Forte every day that sometimes it is hard to find different things on the screen. You don't want to take your attention off the road, and all those icons are pretty tiny. So, price point of the K4, it's $34,495, and again, $3,700 price difference between these two vehicles. So. Ryan said, I'll wait for the K4 GT if it comes to us. So Charlotte and I talk about this quite a bit. Let's take a look under the hood, shall we? And all of this is speculation. Kia will never tell us their future plans because they know we'll share it. But so this is the 1.6 turbo. I think, look at all this space. There's quite a bit of real estate around here. We could put a 2.5 liter turbo in here or a 2 liter turbo. I think we could do it. Now I need you guys in the chat to tell me if you want that. And don't just say you want that. I need you guys to actually buy it, because if they make it and no one buys it, we're not going to have it for very long. Michael, would you buy it?
I would.
Yeah. It'd be really cool to have an Elantra and competitor in the Kia lineup. So that's a Kia K4 with a 2 liter turbo, front wheel drive. We got another TCR car. So I think that'd be a lot of fun.
It will.
Come
I was just trying to see it, so I stand here so they can see the car.
Oh, right. Stand here so they can see the open hoods. Someone said, I drive a Zamboni. That is my daily driver. Why'd you guys expose that? I'm the reason the roads are so icy. I would pay $3,000 more for a bigger block. I feel like a lot of people would. We shall see. We shall see. K4 versus Seltos, definitely something we plan on filming in the future. I have a question about the Sorento. Does the X Pro trim have massage seats like the Telluride? No, unfortunately it does not. At this point, our only vehicles with the Ergomotion seat is going to be the Kia EV9 and the Kia Telluride in the Kia world. The Palisade also has the Ergomotion seat. Both of them are good, but the K4 stands out. I totally agree with you. It stands out. The Forte does stand out too, but not as much as the K4 does, if that makes sense. All right, sweet. Take them out for a street drag. Don't think we can do that. These are dealership cars.
I don't think we can.
I don't think we can. The engine compartment looks pretty bad. LOL, 190 horsepower. Yeah, this ain't exactly a drag car. This ain't your V8. It's a compact 4-cylinder vehicle that has some sporty edge to it, but it's not a drag car. So
Definitely not.
yeah, it's not what it was built for.
It's
But-
more about comfort.
Yeah,
city
it's all
driving or
about
whatever.
comfort. It's all about the latest tech, and I think you're getting a lot of vehicle for the price that you're paying for on the K4. So a lot more bang for your buck. Now, it's harder to see, I feel like, the value when you're comparing two top trim models, because obviously the Forte is very impressive. It has ventilated seats. It's got all the tech too. But there's so much that is introduced with the K4, even in its lower trim levels, that really puts it at a better standing against the Forte. But a lot of it comes down to price point and, of course, your preference. So styling is always going to be subjective. I can't tell you one's a better looking car. It really comes down to what you prefer. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, you guys, that's probably it for today's live stream. I hope you guys learned something today, and I hope you did an okay job without going too much back and forth. If there's anything you'd like to see in the future, please do let us know in the comments down below, because we read them every single day. And please leave a like on this video. It's free. It definitely helps out the channel, and it makes us so happy. All right, take care. Have a good rest of your day. Michael, anything you want to say?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Okay, bye.